Hey, welcome to Board of It. I'm Farrell. This is Tally.
Hello.
And welcome to our review of Carnegie. And yes, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced 4 different ways. I don't think anyone really knows how to pronounce it anymore. And actually, I looked it online and it says I'm right. And this is that's what it says. I just listened to it now, Carnegie.
Did you do American pronunciation?
Well, it doesn't matter. He lived in America. He's American.
Scottish?
Well, no, only born there. Anyway, so that is correct, and I was saying it right beforehand. So what Carnegie is an economic Euro game. You're going to be each an individual company, and what you're doing is based on the life of Andrew Carnegie, but essentially you're going to be collecting money, you're going to be making donations, and you're also going to be improving American infrastructure. Now, what I find funny is that it's more like racketeering than donations because there's no altruism. You're only giving up money for cold, hard victory points and sometimes making sure other players can't give donations.
Very uncharitable.
That's my case.
Carnegie is for 1 to 4 players. And it's kind of hard to describe in a pithy way because you can't really throw out any buzzwords to explain exactly what it is you're doing. So as such, let's get into the review, the overview, so you can see how it works. But right before we actually jump into that overview, we'd just like to say if you enjoy our channel, if you find our content helpful in any way, we'd really, really appreciate it if you could subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. And if you want to have us invade your ears, we also recently started a podcast, Board of It. You can search for that on any podcatchers, I believe they're called, or maybe that's from like 2015, I don't know. Anywhere where you listen to podcasts, just search Board of It and you'll find our podcast where we kind of have more of a chance to go deep diving into some games. So please check that out, we'd really appreciate it. The core of Carnegie is its absolutely devilish action selection system. Whoever is the first player will get to choose one of 4 action types out of HR, management, construction, and R&D. Each of these action types corresponds to departments in your company, which are contained on your player board. And every time one of these action types is chosen, all players will get to activate departments and take actions that correspond to the chosen action type. However, this does rely on you having workers in that department who are standing upright, which means they are active. Some actions also require you to send your workers out onto the main board, which is representing the USA divided into 4 regions.
However, before you all take actions, the space that the player picked might have a region of America printed there, or it might say donation. Now, if it shows a region of America, all of your workers in that region will return to you, providing you with income. And if it says donation, all players in turn order will have the chance to make a donation, which is essentially spending money to put yourself in for endgame scoring.
Back to the departments. HR allows you to move your workers around the different departments on your player board, because when they come back from the main board, they go into your company lobby. So you need to move them to where you want them to go, and then you need to pay them so they stand upright and they're ready to be activated. Management provides you with goods and money, as well as allowing you to buy different department tiles, which will have unique actions. Construction allows you to place your player discs onto the main board, building infrastructure and transportation. And then R&D allows you to improve your transportation and also provide you with new discs that you can use for construction in future turns.
The game is going to last 20 actions, at which point you'll proceed to final scoring, and the player with most points will win. What you're going to score for is a mix of active employees, how well you've connected major cities together, mixed with the level of your infrastructure in terms of transport between those cities, your construction projects, and of course your donations, plus a few other little bits and pieces. First things first, the theme. There's a lot that's been made of the theme being based around glorifying Andrew Carnegie when his legacy and his philanthropy aren't as clear-cut as they initially seem. And we aren't going to deep dive into this because we do sub 15-minute reviews and it's already been covered a lot elsewhere. And it's kind of a topic that you can't cut corners on. We recommend checking out the Sharp and Sit Down podcast, No Pun Included podcast. They've both talked about this in depth, or doing your own research. And the other reason is that it's a Euro and it's kind of themeless in the sense that this could really be anything. There could be no mention of Andrew Carnegie and the game wouldn't change. So we're just going to tell you about how it plays, how it feels to play, the content and the components.
The star of the show, as hinted at earlier, is the action selection system. It turns what would otherwise be a dry generic Euro into something outwardly focused, tense and sometimes really quite savage, because the players will be doing and focusing on the different aspects of Carnegie. Their workers will have a different flow and they'll be being sent out to the different areas of the US.
And because different people will be working on different things, it means they're going to have varying levels of workers in different departments. They're going to have different numbers of goods and different amounts of money. And because you pick the action that every other player takes, it means that if you look over and see that Tally has no one in construction, and you pick construction, that means she has missed out on one of her 20 turns, which is huge. It feels a lot like you're all trying to drive a car, and of course it's going off the road because you're trying to do it at once, and I love it. And what it means is that your head's up, you're looking at the table, you're looking at other players, you're looking at the layout of their player boards, you're trying to get in their head and think what they might do next, preempt them so you don't get caught out, and it's all rather fun.
Whilst picking an action is fun, the departments are what makes actually taking the actions even more fun. All players start with the same potential actions at the beginning of the game, but as they buy more and more department tiles, the companies become more asymmetric, and certain actions get stronger depending on what tiles you buy. It's really engaging to be able to build up your company in the way that you like, and it makes each game of Carnegie feel quite different in the way that it plays because what you can do is different.
However, as you build up your departments, Carnegie throws a problem at you: how to staff those departments. This creates a wonderful spatial puzzle as you maneuver your workers to get to the departments you need, because you only have so many movements and you can generally only do them when the HR action is taken. And the more departments you build, the further away they get. So you could put more people into HR, but then you have less people to move to the departments and actions that you want to take. And it's almost becoming a wonderful dance of worker management and planning and kind of a spatial awareness as you maneuver them about, because you have to balance workers going out to the main board, workers coming back from the main board, and moving them to departments as you plan what you want to do quite far in advance.
Overall, Carnegie should be congratulated for its interactiveness and the way that it directs player focus outwards. There are a lot of excellent crunch points, and most of them can be found on the main board. A big chunk of the scoring can be made by connecting up the major cities on the map with your construction discs, but even at 2 players, some of the routes can get blocked off. So imagine the brutality at 4 players. Think Ticket to Ride at its most cutthroat. Another different point of frustration are the donations, because only 1 player can grab each specific donation, so they're going to get snapped up pretty quickly. So you'll likely find yourself trying to analyse what other players are going to go after so that you can undercut them.
Turning away from all that effusive praise for a moment, we're going to talk about the one thing that we dislike about Carnegie, and that is the difference between the retail and the deluxe or Kickstarter, however you want to say it, versions of Carnegie. And this is because usually when you have a game that comes up through Kickstarter, the Kickstarter version is going to have some extra content, and usually it's a bunch of tripe added in to make sure people back it rather than buy it at retail, and often it's either imbalanced or isn't great, and it's something that usually gets left by the roadside. However, in Carnegie, I would say it's almost essential to the full experience, because you come with a few little modules, and when you add them in, it creates a much richer, fuller experience. And as an example of what I'm talking about, one of the expansion modules doubles the number of department tiles available for the game, and they're not imbalanced tacked on. They're changed the very ways that you can go about playing Carnegie, and they're interesting, and a lot of them feel like they were designed in concert with the ones in the base game, and then they're just separated out arbitrarily. And as such, we really don't like that it might be a lot harder and a lot more expensive to get a copy of the deluxe version or the Kickstarter version with all these content in, when the retail version doesn't, to us, feel like the full game.
We'll end our thoughts on Carnegie by just noting the wonderful production. We do always say this, but this is some of artist Ian O'Toole's finest work, both in terms of the symbology and the graphic design. The player pieces are wonderful, the goods, the money, everything's top notch, and the inserts make the setup a breeze. And actually, this is one of the best parts about Carnegie, that there's really not much setup on the board at the beginning of the game, so it's really easy to get to the table. But it should be noted, the fewer players you have, the more there is to set up. We also have the deluxe version, so we can't talk to whether this holds for the retail version. So, final thoughts. If you watched our whole review, then you may have noted the only negative we had was about the different content in the different versions of the game, and not about the gameplay itself. Carnegie is a really terrific Euro, and one of the best new pure Euros out there, i.e. it doesn't have any luck, in our opinion.
Now, if you are generally a fan of our Euro recommendations, then you should know that this is not one to miss. Thanks, Sven. We obviously really enjoy it, and yes, it's a bit of a bear to teach. Yes, it's on the heavier side, which may not be for everyone, but I don't think that's a problem if it's one you'll return to time and time again. Oh dear. Now, I want to thank you for watching. That was our review of Carnegie, and please subscribe if you found it helpful. Please check out our other videos on the channel, and we've just launched a podcast. You can find links to that in the description below, or just search it on your pod vehicle, whatever it is.
Wow.
But most importantly, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.
Bye.